Hola Evan, ¿cómo estás?
Hola, por aquí.
Todo bien por aquí. ¿Y tú qué
¿Cómo
tal?
estás? Hola, hola, Evan.
Today I'm going to tell you about my experience with Lingoda. Lingoda is a language learning service that connects you with teachers from various countries around the world to help you learn your target language. They do that by using slide decks as the basis for an hour-long guided conversation, and they teach you in different areas of language from reading to grammar. They provide teachers for Spanish, French, German, English, and what they call business English. I started with this website because of an offer that they do periodically called the Lingoda Sprint. The deal with the Sprint is that you pay up front for a number of classes, and then you have 60 days to take 60 classes consecutively every day. If you can succeed in doing that, they will reimburse you for the full cost of those classes. If that sounds a little too intense, there is another option where you can do 30 classes in 60 days. But the catch there is that they would only reimburse you 50% if you take that option. I participated in the 60 class version, and I was a little skeptical at first, but it did work. And I think that as long as someone is able to book their classes well in advance and stick to a schedule, that it's totally doable. They do have some rules that you'll have to abide by, so it's important to review their terms on their website, but it's nothing difficult. It's also important to note, though, that if you get reimbursed, you're not going to see that money right away. So they take a month or two to evaluate all the participants, see if they met the criteria, and then they'll notify the people that yes, you're going to get your money back. I participated in the Sprint at a B2 level. They make you take a test at the beginning, which offers some framework that they think is a good level for you, and then you have some flexibility from there. So that placement test put me at a B2 level. When you sign up, you pay and you receive credits. Those credits are used to apply for the classes that you want to reserve for your challenge. It's also important to note that these are group classes, so you have to sign up in advance, because if these classes fill up and you're doing the challenge, you may have difficulty meeting the requirement to do a class a day. And you also can't pick a day like the weekend and say, well, I'm just going to do a couple this weekend so that I get more done. You can't do that for the challenge. You have to do one class a day, so it's important to try to schedule in advance. Now, I mentioned that I started at the B2 level, and the way that Lingoda is set up, at least for Spanish, is that each level has 3 parts, and each one of those parts contains 50 classes. So by the time that I had finished the sprint, I had completed one full section and done a few classes in another part. So by that point, I was comfortable with the website and the structure of the classes. I liked that you could go in and review the slides in advance. You always had some predictability in terms of how the courses or the conversations generally go. And I decided to continue with the program. So even though I completed the sprint with 60 classes, I started working towards the full 150 classes in the overall B2 section. So that's what I've been doing, albeit at a slower pace than in the challenge. So I can continue to work through those classes, and I'm getting closer every day to finishing the B2 section. I really like the variety of teachers, and while there are a lot of teachers from a lot of different countries, after a while you will start to see that the same teachers start to come again and again. And if you really like one of the teachers, you can try to book with that teacher specifically. Once you figure out what courses they're participating in, you can join. So out of almost 150 conversations now through Lingoda. I've only had 2 instances where teachers, for whatever reason, didn't join the class and the class wasn't able to proceed. And I had 1 case where there was a technical issue on the website that didn't let me join. But in all of those cases, I was able to reach out to the team at Lingoda, and they were super helpful, and they refunded the credit so that I wasn't at a loss for the courses that I paid for. So I appreciated that, and I think that's a fair system. I think the ultimate goal for a website like Lingoda is that it just throws you into a situation. And even if you don't understand all of the material or some of the complicated things that people might say, the more that you do it, the more you learn how to ask the right questions and build vocabulary, just like you would in your native language. You can try to figure out and build upon the language that you're learning. I wouldn't say that Lingoda is the cheapest option out there, but once you look at their cost per class, I do think it's reasonable. And for me personally, it's been really helpful, because I think one of the most important things about learning a language is to do it consistently and to try to speak. And one thing that Lingoda is really good about is providing the framework to let you speak regularly with people who are qualified to give you feedback. I think it's great. I'm not going to cite their specific prices in this video, because that's going to vary depending on whether you're doing the sprint or whether you are enrolled in one of their general subscription programs, and which intensity you're doing in either of those areas. But if you're interested, I'm going to put my referral link in the description below. You can go check it out and see if it's something that works for you. And that's it. I hope this was helpful. Thanks for listening, and have a great day.